The Big 12 stepped up big time. Brett Yormark saying that anti-religious speech will not be tolerated in the Big 12. That's a huge win for BYU, a huge win for Colorado, a huge win for all of us. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. We will start with the Big 12 taking a huge stance on hate speech and not allowing it. Colorado is fined for the F the Mormons chant. What does that say about Arizona fans who are of the LDS faith, or Utah fans who are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? This is just the Big 12 taking a massive step in the right direction. We'll start there. Then 4 teams in the college football playoff, all from the Big 12. That's what Brett Yormark is fighting for, and he's going to win it. He's going to get it. Then Deion Sanders, the next head coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks. That's the word on the street. Let's debunk it or qualify it. Let's see. If you hit subscribe, I could keep my job. TJ Pittenger of College Football Addiction will join as he does every Wednesday. First, I want to say thank you to the Big 12. Thanks to the Big 12 for listening to fans of this conference, whether they were Oklahoma State fans, Texas Tech fans who stood up for BYU after there was anti-religious chants that were hurled from Colorado. I think the fine is a step in the right direction, that the fine will only increase as other universities are caught doing this, if they are caught doing this. But it shows the Big 12 stands with BYU. That's a university who was in the wilderness for a long time, walking through independence. You think about UCF or Cincinnati, Houston. I mean, there are schools like Arizona who didn't have the right infrastructure in their former conferences, didn't feel wanted, didn't feel kept, didn't have a home. It's neat to see the leadership of this conference take a stand for one of our universities and take a stand against hate speech. Let's start there.
Colorado, after their game against BYU, a fine from the conference for some expletives towards the Cougars. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, TJ, I mean, we ran into this last year with Arizona in basketball, this past basketball season, and Colorado chanting F the Mormons was the chant. I've mentioned this on my show a couple of times. I find it very ironic. They aren't Mormons. They're the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's the Book of Mormon. That's semantics. So what happens is Colorado, the student section chants this. There are videos of it. It goes viral on Twitter. And once again, we're talking about hate speech toward a faith, hate speech toward religion. And I know this is a sports show, and for you and myself, we've both mentioned our own faiths on our programs, and neither of us are members of the LDS Church, but certainly I think that we all can agree that religious discrimination and religious hate should not be a thing in college athletics, should not be a thing. We're talking about Big 12 fan bases chanting anti-religious chants at BYU or Utah or Arizona, racial chants, any of that. So what happens is Colorado is in essence caught with this. They release a statement. They say sorry. BYU responds and says, this is abhorrent and it has no place and it shouldn't happen. And thanks for the apologies. Then the Big 12 steps up and fines Colorado $50,000. What this is for the Big 12 is a slap on the wrist for Colorado. The Big 12 did one thing right, and it was reprimand the Buffs, reprimand the university for the use of this, and put a foot down, establishing from now on any university whose students participate in this will accrue a fine. From here, I think this is the initial, the first flare that the Big 12 shoots out of the gun. And from here, when the next fan base does it, it's almost inevitable at this point. Again, Arizona last year, they've heard it at Oregon, they've heard it at Stanford. When it happens again, I think the Big 12 is going to bring the hammer down. You just saw this conference detail that if you throw items onto the field, that's going to be a penalty. That the second time that the students do it, you're going to be charged 15 yards against your offense. I believe we are headed in that direction when it comes to hate speech in the Big 12. Look, let's put it this way. Again, this is a sports show, but in this context, it has taken over the sport for BYU and fans that feel unsafe or fans that feel like hate speech should not be involved in games. And I agree with all of that. If they were to say F the or screw the or we hate the Baptists or the Catholics or the Presbyterians, that's a serious issue. And the fact that this wasn't taken very seriously against Arizona, the fact that Big 12 didn't step up and fine Arizona, that was kind of strike one for fan bases in the conference. Now that Colorado has done it, $50,000 is chump change to a university, but it showcases the league stands with BYU. And I think the next time this happens, it's going to be a serious fine and serious reprimand for whatever university that is. Here's the question, TJ. Does that $50,000 that doesn't come out of the pockets of the students, or at least they won't feel it, does it stop kids from doing this? Does it stop fans from doing this? That's where I don't know until the penalty or the fine or whatever it is actually affects gameplay.
If they would have just said F the Cougars or F BYU,
cool.
There would have been no.
You're not cool, right? But
right.
you know what I'm saying.
And I'm not. I mean, I would not chant that. But I mean, I was literally at a game, in Tallahassee, open it up, and it was F the Tide, right? And so this happens everywhere. But had that been the case, would they have there would have been nothing, right?
Nothing at all. Yeah. This is, well, think about this. There is still, these are idiot college kids. These are drunk idiot college kids. And if you chant F BYU, F Iowa State, F Baylor, who gives a rip? You're a drunk. That doesn't cross the line because that's just stupid stuff that 19-year-olds like to yell when they're at a college football game. When it becomes, again, against a race, against a religion, against a creed, that's where the issue comes in. And for the Big 12, they had to take a stand. This is Brett Yormark saying something that, TJ, this is what's crazy about this too to me. There are BYU fans who have flooded the mentions recently talking about how they've never had this level of national support. That ESPN doesn't talk kindly about BYU, that, the Book of Mormon play that was on Broadway, right? And all of these ways that the LDS faith the ways they're depicted in popular media, it's defamatory. And so BYU has looked for a home and looked for a base where they are supported and they feel as though the actual structure around them cares. That's what the Big 12 just showed. We're not going to put up with anti-religious sentiment. We're not going to put up with hate speech. That is where we've crossed a line here. And I'm glad the Big 12 did something.
I did think Deion had a pretty good response to this.
Yeah, Deion was great with this too. Yeah.
He kind of called out his own fans. And the big thing is Deion knows what is right and what is wrong as a man of faith himself. Most of your coaches, I'd say all your coaches, right? I don't think there's any coaches that would encourage this. All your ADs know, all your presidents know. But you asked a good question of how do you get 18 to 22-year-olds that are drunk off their you-know-whats, how do you get them to stop this? Because I'll tell you this. You tell me when I was 18 to 22, you can't do X, Y, Z.
No doubt.
Because the problem is, it's not like the Texas-Georgia game where you find the guys that threw the water bottles on the field and you ban them, right? Like that. It's the entire student section. You can't. Right. So I think that is a good question. Not that I expect you to have some perfect answer, but that is the question is, Deion can say, hey, don't do this anymore. Or, but man, all it takes is for one to start that chant. You know how that goes. Again, if you just change it to the team mascot, I think you're fine. And that's what you got to. Yeah. But if you're the athletic department, you ain't telling your kids, hey, man, just when you're MFing something.
Yeah. Change who you're MFing, right?
This way.
Yeah.
So that's a hard thing to do. And that's on these ADs and athletic departments to figure it out.
No doubt. Jerome Tang jumped into the student section 2 years ago at Kansas State when the Kansas State fans were chanting FKU. And he grabbed a microphone and said, stop. No. When we chant about us. We don't care about them. We chant about us. And a lot of people called it corny. They're like, oh, he went too far. That's kind of weird. Look, it was clunky, but the sentiment is there, right? The morality in this, the ethics in this are fair. And so for the Big 12, what you're going to have to do is, and from there, obviously, TJ, those chants didn't stop. The kids the next year, the FKU is right back because that's what kids love to yell for some reason. So what the Big 12 will have to do if they're actually serious about eliminating hate speech, and hate speech, again, toward a religion, toward a faith, in the same way it would be toward a creed or a color, what they have to do is say, look, if this is here, example, you ready for this one? About to blow your faces off. When the band plays at the wrong time, you can accrue a 15-yard penalty, right? When the band is doing the wrong thing, or when you ring a cowbell at Mississippi State at the wrong time, you can accrue a 15-yard penalty. That should be the exact same thing for racial or religious hate. I don't think that's a very tough concept to grasp, is that, hey, if you yell, if we have people coming to a game feeling like their religion is being attacked, their faith is being attacked, yeah, you, the fans, can certainly affect this game for a 15-yard penalty against your home team. Today's show is brought to you by Mazda. The reason I drive a Mazda? Class, passion. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. They deliver confidence with every ride, with more IIHS top safety pick awards than anyone else. And you can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when we make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Do it today with Mazda. Today's show is also brought to you by Monarch Money. The reason why: I am 24 years old and I don't really know what to do with my money. I'm spending a lot of it on things that I don't need. And Monarch Money helps keep me accountable. And when you don't have the full picture, you end up leaving money on the table. Monarch Money gives you that full picture. Your laptop, your phone, it's built with people with busy lives to do the heavy lifting. As your own personal CFO, you don't have to touch a spreadsheet. Identify you're not saving as much as you thought. Find your old 401ks from past jobs just laying around there. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. Go to monarchmoney.com and do it today.
Let's talk a little bit about the Big 12 in general. Thoughts on some changes that may give the Big 12 more playoff berths? Tell us what's going on here.
You ready for this one, TJ? Buckle up, baby.
I am.
4 teams in the college football playoff from the Big 12. Not this year. Not this year. That's not what I'm going to bag for. Is like, oh, well, they should let Arizona State and Baylor and TCU. No. Brett Yormark has gone to the table with the other commissioners from the Big Ten to the ACC to the SEC, and he said, look, here are the metrics. You, Greg Sankey, you pilot the best conference in college football, and it's not even close. We get that. We understand. You, Tony Petitti at the Big Ten, you don't. And honestly, if you ask Massey ratings, the Big 12 is better than the Big 10, deeper than the Big 10, has more teams that can compete not just for a Big 12 title, but also a shot at winning games in the college football playoff. Yeah, we don't have Oregon. Like, hand up, the Big 12 gets that. But once you get to like the 5th team in the Big 10, you kind of run out. In the Big 12, we can go 6, 7, 8 deep of teams that will compete in the college football playoff, just like you saw Arizona State compete last year in the college football playoff. Maybe if we do last year over again, we could do it, we simulate it 10 times, Arizona State may only win 1 time the Big 12 championship and go to the playoff. They may have actually been the 4th or 5th best team in the Big 12. It's the way the schedule now cracks out. You're not always going to get number 1 at the very top. So what I'm saying in that is, let's say Arizona State was the 4th or 5th best team in the Big 12. It helps your case in the way they competed with Texas and were 1 phony flag away from winning the game. So Yormark has gone to the table and said, look, you all wanted to pitch 4-4, 2-2, whatever. The Big 12 gets 2, the Big 10 gets 4, the ACC gets 2, the SEC gets 4, and this automatic qualifier playoff. And a lot of pundits, a lot of national media members said, you know what, Big 12, be happy with that. Be happy you at least got 2. And now this conference is saying, hey, wait a second. Iowa State defensively dominated Iowa, one of the top half teams in the Big Ten somehow. Iowa State dominated Iowa. Middle of the pack Cincinnati went into a raucous Nebraska environment and lost by 3. Like, we're contending our mid-tier teams with your upper-tier teams, and you're going to tell me you should get 4 teams in the college football playoff every year? That doesn't make sense to Brett Yormark. So he is making headway as we speak with getting an equal opportunity college football playoff on the table. That equal opportunity being the Big 12 with 4 teams in, the SEC, 4 teams in. Same for the ACC, which is crazy. And I'm not sure if they'll exist the way they exist now in 2030. So we'll give them a few years of 4, and then the Big 10 getting 4 as well. And from there, You could add 3, 2, 4 from the group of 5 ranks and create a 20-team college football playoff, an 18-team college football playoff. That's where I think this model is heading. And Brett Yormark is not just going to shut up and dribble. He's going to fight for the Big 12 to have equal representation in this conference. And TJ, again, you look at the metrics, you look at Massey ratings. The Big 12 is closer to the Big 10 than the ACC is to the American. Like there is a gap after 3. Right now, it's a power 3, and the Big 12 has ran amok on the ACC. The Big 12 has a better power 4 out of conference winning percentage than the Big 10 right now. I think this conference is being disrespected by the national media, and I think that Brett Yormark is finally again making headway in these college football playoff conversations.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he's able to eventually pull off with the SEC and the Big Ten having so much power and leeway. Like, what is he able to do? And I almost wonder, like, when do we get news on something with this? Because doesn't the current deal run out after this year? And we need to have something decided by December. Is that not right?
Yeah, it's like what are we doing? Midnight's here, and what is the playoff next year? I don't think anybody really knows right now, TJ.
I would hope, and this is what I understand the different dynamics in different conferences, but when you look at what we've already seen this year and you see teams like, well, everybody was high on this team, or everybody was high on this team, and then they start to fall off or other teams rise up. I like the idea of the equal footing and the equal playing ground. Now, you threw the wrench in of what's the ACC look like in 4 years. Yeah, we may not need so much equality once we get to that point. But I do like the idea of that because, man, there are years, the most successful league in the country, and I know we don't want to go to the NFLization of college football, but we're there. The most successful league in the country still allows a team in from the worst conference and the worst division.
Right.
And
but yeah.
There have been years where the Bucks would get in at 9-7 and they'd be hosting like a 12-5 team. Right. And so I do think that this, winning your conference, winning your division, competing high in your conference, it matters. And so, listen, I know that doesn't make every, Lane Kiffin, if he happens to watch this, isn't going to love that. And Eli Drinkowitz is not going to love that. But I do think that that's what is best for the sport, as opposed to a 16-team playoff where we have 13 SEC and Big Ten teams and then 1-1-1, right? That isn't good for anybody.
So let's think about this, TJ. Do you think Notre Dame should be blasted into the sun for losing to the number 5 team and number 7 team in the country?
No.
Yeah, I get that they're ranked. As much as it pains me, I'd love to be the guy that's like, oh. But if you lose number 5 and number 7,
in close games, on the last play,
but combined 4 points, I think. So hand up, dude. You did something that, listen to this, in the BCS era would have taken you out of the college football playoff. Yeah. Notre Dame could prove by the end of the year, as they grow, to be the best team in the country. I don't think they will be, but they certainly have the window of opportunity to do so, right? So here's what I'm getting at. In this era, people want to say, well, the regular season doesn't matter anymore. Well, the regular season isn't something we watch anymore because it's so diluted. Everybody makes the playoff. Think about this. We would be taking a Notre Dame team and penalizing them with no opportunity to play for the national championship because they lost to 2 of the best teams in the country. I don't think we should do that. Further, TJ, Micah Parsons plays for the Packers. You watched that game on Sunday night?
I did.
Most of America watched that game between 2 teams who are playing in week 3, and now they're 2-1 or 2-2. And guess what? We still watched it, and it was still sold out because the regular season is always going to matter. Football is always going to matter. Penn State, Oregon. I watched that from start to finish. Bama, Georgia. And those 4 teams may all get into the college football playoff. But at the end of that, cool, man. Didn't mean that I didn't watch those games, right? It didn't mean that people didn't show up. We haven't diluted this. We've only made it even more intriguing to build storylines for the playoff, and now everyone gets to compete for a national championship. It's the same reason in every division in Texas, 64 teams make the high school playoffs. 64. Because you can't judge a team from Lubbock the way that you can judge a team from Houston. They don't play each other until the playoffs. And that's the beauty of college football and how college football is going to stay a stalwart. It's not going to dilute the regular season. I think that's a very stupid argument people keep putting out there. And the Big 12 should deserve equal representation when we all get to the table at the end of the year. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is exactly where I go to make money. FanDuel is where I go to say, hey, I believe firmly that TCU is going to win by 17 points this weekend. They're going to cover. If you do believe that, then you go and you bet it on FanDuel and you win money. And the NFL season is also here. You pick a bet, put down $5. If it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. New customers, $5 to get $300 in bonus bets if you win. I love that they give you so many ways to play, parlays, player props, even follow the live lines during the game. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. FanDuel.com to download that FanDuel app and do it today with FanDuel. Today's show is also brought to you by Square. Square is what powers your neighborhood favorites. I go down the street. I eat at a little place called Basil out here on Wilmington Island in Georgia, where I live. And Square is what powers Basil. I go to pay and I do the little tap thing, tap the Square. I mean, it's what makes your neighborhood the neighborhood. Rooted in your community for years, these businesses are what bring people together, and Square keeps these businesses running. Basil's in my neighborhood is the heart of the community, has been for a long time, thanks to Square. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/LockedOnCollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood with Square.
I know their season is not off to the start that they wanted, but it could get worse in Boulder. Would Deion possibly leave Colorado?
I think this may be the one, man. I think this is going to be a hard offseason to keep Deion Sanders in Boulder. Now, Colorado has done everything they can, right? We know, though, Deion wanted the SEC, wanted the SEC infrastructure. The rumors have come out, the reports have been affirmed that he was interviewing for the Arkansas job when it was given to Sam Pittman. The access that he'll be given in the Southeastern Conference with $20 million more per year and much deeper NIL than Colorado. And Colorado has fine NIL, but not to the level of the Tyson family at the University of Arkansas or the Waltons who own Walmart. That is going to be a huge allure to take Deion Sanders and ship him off to the SEC into a college town like Fayetteville. Look, I grew up in the state of Arkansas, grew up going to games on the Hill, grew up watching the Razorbacks lose most of those games. And one thing I can tell you, having now been to both Boulder and Fayetteville, Arkansas, they're fairly similar places. Like, they both have this college mystique, and they've got these funky, fruity, swanky bars, and you walk in, you're like, gosh, why is this sandwich $17? And my coffee is $9. That's Fayetteville, Arkansas, and Boulder, Colorado. They both are nestled in the mountains and just feel like these quintessential college towns. He could walk in there and revolutionize the program and have all eyes on him at an SEC university. And better yet, at an SEC university where expectations aren't that high. TJ, can I say something? Am I allowed to? Can I say something here? I won't swear.
Sure.
Colorado had zero expectations for Deion Sanders. Zero. I mean, they had 2 winning seasons in 15 years. He didn't have to win. You walk into Tallahassee, you go to Auburn, Alabama, you go to Norman, Oklahoma, you have got to win. Deion could lose. He could go 6-6 the next 5 years and still be the head coach of Colorado. Now, rightfully so. He's built the GDP of Boulder up by millions and millions of dollars. Like, they are making money hand over fist because of Deion. So he should be. He's completely revitalized their program. And if he is gone next year, whoever's next is going to be great. But if you take that guy and put him next to John Calipari at Arkansas, we are talking about one of the big, like, Showtime to the max. One of the biggest names in college football, one of the biggest names in college basketball, and they're coaching together in the SEC. That's enticing, man. That's and Arkansas, the same way Colorado does not have expectation. Arkansas does not have expectation. Deion could go there and go 6-6 every year, and the Hogs will look around and say, well, kind of what we have been doing, and just ride that paycheck into infinity. Deion to Arkansas is on the table.
You think Deion would take it? What about the other way? Do you think Arkansas, this is a move of the day? Like Lashley has been a name that's been tossed around. Like, do you think, how high on their list is Coach Prime right now?
You know, the last time Arkansas hired an SMU head coach, Chad Morris. So I think they're a little leery of making that move right now, though he's a local guy. Arkansas is all in, man. Hunter Yurachek was the one that was in those conversations with Deion right out bringing Sam Pittman in. He's the athletic director now. He's a bad athletic director. The state hates him. Like every time he opens his mouth, it's just bad. Like he'll go to press conferences and they'll be like, "Hey, why is NIL bad?" And he'll say, "Well, the state's poor." Like, no, you can't just say stuff like that. He is the king of that, and so he needs to save his job. He is hiring to save his job if he doesn't get fired during this process, by the way. And so Arkansas is all in. The question would be ultimately, and so I made the case of why Deion could be in. There's also a pretty strong case for him not to leave Boulder, to not leave the Big 12. They have given him the keys to everything. And man, TJ, I don't know if you've heard the rumors about the SEC donors and bagmen and board of trustees. And I mean, it is a hot mess at every one of those schools trying to get in and around the infrastructures that these places have built. And so that's where I think there's still a very strong case that Deion stays put at Colorado. But man, I just, he would get even more support from Walmart, from Tyson, from JB Hunt, or he could go to, down to Baton Rouge. If he got the keys to LSU, he could be Ryan Day. I believe he could be Ryan Day. I don't think Ryan Day is a football genius. He's a CEO type. Deion could do that with the right resources and win at the highest level. The question's going to be, if he continues to lose at Colorado, at what point does he say, okay, you're not putting me in a position to win. I need to make a change of scenery. And maybe that happens. I think he's a buff next year. If I had to call my shot right now, he's a buff next year. But TJ, we got to eye a place in Arkansas that'll throw him the kitchen sink because the AD's fighting for his job.
Yeah. What would his success level be like?
Oof. It's the SEC, man. Like, think about Deion Sanders in Arkansas against LSU Baton Rouge 7 p.m. I just don't see it. Or even Lane Kiffin. Like, I think the target. So in the Big 12, Deion didn't really have a target on his back because the Big 12 coaches are a pretty cool cohort. I've worked a lot with Gary Patterson here recently, and he talks frequently about how cool that fraternity of coaches is. Those guys get along so well. The SEC, I want to rip your throat out. Like these coaches are trying to win at a deep level, and to the point of, like, even Mike Elko, who's the nicest guy in the world, has this petty comment about Brian Kelly. Like it's that level of petty and deep to these SEC coaches where it just means more. Gosh, that the target on your back if you're Deion Sanders walking into Tuscaloosa, the target on your back if you're walking into Knoxville, Tennessee. Oh, like that, they're going to want to beat him down. And I just don't know. I think it would take Deion going to an Auburn, Deion going to a school with the infrastructure of an LSU for him to truly unlock championship potential. I don't think Arkansas is that place.
Yeah, I mean, we even saw that. You just mentioned in the SEC. We even saw that in the Pac-12 when Dan Lanning had a chance to run it up and then talk about things for clicks and all this stuff. I mean, we've seen that already. And I think, as a Florida State fan, right? I've said this for Florida State, Miami, Florida, and it exists for Alabama and Georgia and all these other teams too. There's always a target on your back. Like Florida State goes into Charlottesville, and that was the highlight of the last 2 decades for UVA to win that game. That's not even on the top. That wouldn't even have been on the top 20 wins that Florida State's had in the last 5 years, 20 years, 10 years, whatever. It's not even that bad. They don't even really, they care about the loss, but that's not even one of the 5 worst losses they've had, because teams get up for you every time when you've got a spear on the side of your helmet, or when there's a gator on the side of your helmet, or the U, or just whatever. Colorado doesn't really have, and I know they've got an early title from early in my lifetime. Colorado doesn't even really have that history, and they still get that target on their back. And it's because of Deion Sanders, right? People want to beat one of the greatest to ever play our sport. And that would get ratcheted up quite a bit, I think, in the SEC. Now, if Deion went out there and recruited like an SEC power, certainly there'd be a chance to turn things around and do really well. If he hired a really good staff, there'd be that opportunity as well. Man, that's a tough road to hoe, though, in the SEC for sure, especially in a place like Arkansas. We've seen other places be successful. You could maybe have some success at some of the bigger programs. That's asking a lot there in Fayetteville. No offense to the fine folks in that area.
They don't win a lot, TJ. I've been alive for a few decades.
Back to the Darren McFadden days.
And they fired that coach. They fired Houston Nutt, it's they love to bring a guy in and like, oh, good, old ball coach fired. Maybe Bobby Petrino is the answer. Maybe you need a guy like that at the head of their program. I don't know, but I think Deion Deion stays in Colorado, but monitor this. It's worth watching for sure.
Drake, where can people follow you, find your work?
Yeah, at Locked On Big 12, at LO Big 12 on Twitter, wherever you find your podcasts with Locked On Big 12, and right here on YouTube as well.
Thanks, buddy.
Always fun, TJ.